our first panel discussion for the day, titled Redefining Leadership to Build an Agile and Collaborative Education System. The panelists will discuss the challenges and opportunities that come with building an agile and collaborative education system. Let me introduce our esteemed panelists for this session, Ms. Abigail Alexis-Olubuyide, Head of School, Wesgreen International School, Sharjah, UAE, who will serve as the moderator for this session. Welcome, ma'am. A big hand, everybody. Dr. Sheela Menon, Principal, Ambassador School, Dubai, UAE. A big hand, everybody. Welcome, ma'am. Allan Kjaer Andersen, Director, Chaman Bhartiya School, Bangalore, India. Welcome, sir. Abhilasha Singh, Principal, Shining Star International School, Abu Dhabi, UAE. A warm welcome, ma'am. Jaya Menezes, Principal, Apple International School, Dubai, UAE. A very warm welcome, ma'am. And Reekrit Serai, Managing Director, Satluj Group of Schools, Haryana, India. Let's give them a big round of applause as they share their expertise with us in this insightful panel discussion. Over to you.
So good morning, everybody, and welcome to our session on redefining leadership to build an agile and collaborative education system. I'm very excited about this session because over the last few years, technology has grown exponentially. And although some schools had embedded it prior, it was actually the pandemic that expedited the need for technological integration into our school systems to ensure that students, teachers, and leaders could collaborate effectively. This meant that changes were needed to the educational system, and therefore leaders needed to redefine their leadership in order to ensure that they had an agile and collaborative institution. They had to respond not only to survive, but to thrive in these changing times. So today, I do want to welcome and thank our guest speakers who will take a deep dive into the impact of this on their individual leadership journey. Okay, so to start off with, technology has played a significant role in the globalization of education and therefore has provided increasing opportunities for collaboration amongst students and staff. My question, and I will start off by asking Jaya, how does this impact the leadership of schools today? And is there a need to redefine our approach to leadership, and in what ways?
A very good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to all the panelists today and all the very best. Well, I would like to start by wishing each one here a happy International Happiness Day. Today is the International Happiness Day, which was launched by the UN in 2011, and I can see the wonderful smiles, and that is what my intention was. Well, coming to the question, I think the purpose of schools is to impart knowledge and skills, right? And as leaders, as international leaders leading international schools or schools of any curriculum, we are empowered to create the best learning environment for our children where both knowledge and the skills can be imparted in the right way. Well, that's for students. What about us leaders? As technology has taken the center stage, I definitely think that leadership, the perspective towards leadership has to change. Because, for example, leaders want to lead schools which are quite actively engaged, where children are actively engaged and the staff is actively engaged in technology, in the usage of technology. But if the leaders themselves are not leaders of technology, then definitely the schools will not be the right place which promotes technology. And we have students who are called the millennials. Perhaps they are so different, their education system is so different from their parents, as well as from most of the teachers. Now, if we try and teach them the way we have learned earlier ourselves, obviously we'll not be creating the right workforce. So it is very important for the leaders, especially in schools where the children form their base, to become digital leaders as well. Because if they are digital leaders, only then, as leaders of the school, we have the power to change the vision, to change the mission, and to actually create the best learning environment for our students, which is empowered by digitalization. Thank you. I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I love what you said, because quite often when we talk about technology, it's often from the teacher's perspective, the people that are actually using it. But you spoke about the leader being a leader of technology first and almost leading by example. We can't take our institutions to somewhere we haven't been. So I think that was a really important point that you mentioned there. Dr. Sheela, can I ask you to just build on that and tell us about why there is a need to redefine our leadership and how we can do this?
Happy afternoon, everybody. Taking ahead, oh, sorry. It is on. Can you hear me? Happy afternoon. Taking it ahead from what Jaya said, technology has undoubtedly accelerated the entire process of globalization of education, and along with that, the opportunities for collaboration. So the two terms, Abigail, that stands out here in what you said is, what caught my attention is globalization of education and opportunities for collaboration, and how technology has played a strong role in bringing about this. Now, when you talk about the first one, we are talking about how a global system of education is emerging, traversing different countries or individual countries. Now we have today, we might again, time and again, go back to referring to the pandemic times and look at how technology has brought the world together, how technology or technology integrated classroom teaching and learning has completely changed the scenario of education. We talk about a pre-pandemic education, and we now talk about a post-pandemic education. Overnight, we changed the way we look at education system across schools and higher education. And certainly, technology has added on to bringing the world closer, education sector closer, and greater opportunities for collaboration. We had more opportunities to learn from each other, share best practices, newer learning, newer skill development, and all this obviously led to more opportunities for collaboration. Now, how do we need to redefine the approach? If schools are not following this, certainly there is a need to relook at the way we talk about education, especially in schools, not to, of course, mention the higher education system too. What is important is, how can we do that? One is changing the silo mindset, changing the very way we work in isolation. Now it is all the more important that we work together. Probably I might keep referring to this point since I was attending some sessions on Teach for Planet, where we were talking about or sharing concerns and ideas about the climate action that needs to be taken. Now, this is one particular example where it's only a collaborative approach that can bring about the desired result. So I believe technology has certainly brought about the education system closer and need for collaboration. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also mentioned some fantastic points. You spoke about pre-pandemic, pandemic, post-pandemic. And in our institutions, you hear parents and even teachers complain about screen time. There's too much screen time, put down the device. But actually, is that how we want to move forward? Or do we want to take the best of what we learn as we transitioned through the pandemic and implement it into the future? So you then spoke about cross-culture and the need to collaborate. I really loved everything you said. So through the technology implementation, educators and learners, they can better communicate and connect with one another across different cultures and across different countries. This cross-mixing has allowed for educators to expand their knowledge of the world. So my question, and I will ask it to Abhilasha, how can leaders support and encourage this collaboration?
Thank you so much, Abigail. A very warm good afternoon to the August gathering here, and thank you to Elets and for this opportunity to speak to everyone and also be part of this wonderful panel. My voice is a little bung up today. I am suffering a very bad cold, so don't mind me, please, and I'll jump in straight to the point now. So the question about how leaders can support an environment of collaboration. So first and foremost, I'll bring you all, I'll focus your attention to this lovely book my friend has written, Dr. Jennifer Williams, and it is called, she's authored this book called Teach Boldly. And I would encourage all of you to make this book a part of your library and get your teachers to read it. It has got wonderful initiatives that we all can start at school, and I consider this book as my Bible where technology for social good is concerned. And that is what we need to focus on in schools. We understand, like ma'am said, that we can't survive or we cannot flourish in silos. So I remember this line from that book, be part of something bigger than yourself. So start a project where you invite local, regional, and international collaboration. So I love the word global. Think global and act local. And something as simple as a climate action project, goals project, SDGs are have to be implemented, embedded in the school curriculum. Education for sustainable development has to be the anthem of all schools, and therefore using technology for social good, there can be innumerable actions that can be taken right in school. So one thing that the school leaders have to also do is support the teachers who have these creative and wonderful ideas. I have seen, I've got a lot of friends across the world, and like you said, like we all know that pandemic has brought the world closer, and we've also increased our professional learning network, and we're also part of bigger professional learning communities. And there I've seen my friends who are teachers, and they complain, they crib about this, and it's very sad to see that, the principals don't support their teachers for whoever has this creative idea or has this wonderful idea of school collaboration, bringing to, connecting the classrooms from around the world. And I would request all the school leaders to be mindful, be open to listening, and while the teachers knock on your doors for these projects, listen to them and support them. All you need to do is give your time and create a space for them to implement these projects. And a wonderful way to do is to start connecting with the Take Action Global Group. They conduct I'm going to give specific examples. They conduct 2 projects around in the year. It is their flagship event. One is a climate action project. It's a design thinking 6-week project where the classrooms from around the world connect. There were last year about 1 million classrooms right from Australia to Alaska that were part of the project. And it also has opportunities where the students then conduct virtual meetups. And imagine, right from KG to grade 12, there are children talking about climate, difference between climate and weather. I loved hearing those conversations in these virtual meetup, where my KG group was saying, do you know the difference between climate and weather? I mean, can you imagine that group when it grows up and, they already have this understanding, and they also know the importance of SDGs and their role in fulfilling these, and also it's all about taking action. So it could be, I'm giving an example of SDG, it could be anything. So right now we're talking about technology, and I'm focusing on using technology for social good. Similarly, they have goals project that happens in January, and taking a leaf from this, we can start our own projects. And we can have, like CBSE, we have CBSE principals over here would agree to that. CBSE supports hubs of learning. It has initiated this hubs of learning work. And here itself, in that hubs of learning, we can use collaboration and look at these important projects that our children can be part of, and then learn to give back to community what they are receiving, and also understand the importance of taking action. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, that was very informative, and we hope you get well soon. I love the title of your friend's book, Teach Boldly. And I actually put to all of us that we too, we must lead boldly because we are leading through changing times. And when you're leading through changing times, it takes a level of boldness to steer that ship, especially when you're steering it into the unknown, like we've spoken about. Somebody mentioned ChatGPT, and these things keep on coming out, don't they? And we need to stay ahead of it, but we also need to have that confidence. You also mentioned about not working in silos, and that's kind of why we're here today, because we need to lean on each other. We need to look at our different contexts and say, what worked for you, and what can I pick from your experience and add into my own experience? So thank you so much for sharing all of that. You'd like to add on? Go ahead.
If I can just mention, Microsoft Learning Center and Microsoft Education has this program called We Schools. And this We Schools is about service learning. And this engages the students in taking part in these service learning initiatives where they support a school, say, being in Dubai, you know, we do fall under the category of the privileged schools or the privileged, the haves of the world. And therefore, the schools over here can then support a school in Uganda, in China, in Nepal, in India. And, you know, that connection, again, brings in collaborative learning and that giving back to the society or the community or to the world what we are receiving with the kindness and grace from God.
Yeah, excellent. So again, to kind of share that good practice, I want to ask, in your own context, where have you seen the harnessing of technology done well? So for example, learners having access to educational materials and opportunities on a global scale, or even the development of shared educational resources and networks. I would like to hear first from Mr. Allan.
Thank you so much. I'm a Danish citizen, and I've been a principal in Denmark for many years, and for 5 years now I've been preparing a school in Bangalore, and we opened 3 years ago, just as COVID started. When we discuss technology, I think it is so important that we as leaders see it as an integral part of everything we do in the school. So we should never just implement technology because there's so much buzz about it and we need to be on the bandwagon. We should always start asking why. Why would we want to do it? And the first example I will mention is from my school in Copenhagen, Ørestad High School. It's a building with open learning spaces, and from the beginning, and now we are back in 2008, so technology is not that new, we decided that every student should have their own laptop. And the reason why was that we wanted to implement flipped classroom or blended learning so that we could enhance the quality of the lessons where the teachers met the students. So the students could collaborate, work on their own, on their laptops, to prepare for the lessons where they were discussing on a higher level with the teachers. That couldn't have been done without technology. And with the technology, they could, of course, read the online textbooks we had, but they also could reach out and find materials by themselves. So that's one important example where technology helped us implement the pedagogy of personalization and inquiry-based learning that we wanted. The other example is from what we are doing now in my school in Bangalore, where we want to implement problem-based learning with design thinking. And in that school, I also decided that every child should have their own gadget, so it's an iPad now, because using technology, they can make inquiry to go into depth with a problem they want to investigate. They can create and present solutions. And in our Center of Creativity and Innovation, they can create physical things or apps or code robots or create a Lego city or whatever. So technology is totally integrated in the vision of having more inquiry-based learning and more creativity in school. And I think that is the way we should look at technology, as a tool for the things we want to do in schools. So, and I think the examples we just heard are beautiful examples of that also. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And Allan, you spoke about 2008, and I kind of hang my head in shame here because I will confess it was not until 2020 with the pandemic that we really integrated technology. But it is really important that, you know, as we move forward, we take technology with us into the future. It's not a tool that should be feared. It's a tool that should be embraced, because if we don't embrace it, our institutions will get left behind. And it really is up to us as leaders to spearhead that change into the future. I'm going to ask also Dr. Sheela, can you please share with us any examples from your context where you have harnessed technology?
Very well said points, you know, and I will move away from these aspects and talk about slightly different aspect, focusing on inclusivity. How technology actually helps students with special needs. Now, pandemic, again, coming back to the same, period when we all faced the pandemic and we were all struggling to find a way out to manage or engage all types of learners. Whereas the neurotypical students normally get faster on with whatever is presented to them, we did face a challenge when it came to students with special needs. That is when we started using technology to our advantage and tried to bring in what best methods can be used to keep them engaged. Learning continues, and that is a personal example we at Ambassador School tried, because being, again, blessed to be a part of this country where inclusion is given utmost importance across schools. So that is one area where we realized, because pandemic pushed us to use more of technology, we brought in a lot of softwares, we brought in a lot of technological aspects that could actually help students with special needs. So that is one aspect that, you know, we continue, Abigail, you know, that work to the advantage of these students who needed this special attention.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing up inclusion, because that is a very important component, because through technology, it helps us to differentiate in real time and meet each child where they are and cater to their independent needs. So my next question is looking at the growing popularity of EdTech and AI. The unknown impacts mean that agility is going to be a crucial component of us leading through these times. What does it mean to be agile in leadership? What does that actually mean? It's a buzzword, isn't it? We hear it all the time, agile leadership. What does that mean? And I'm going to ask Ms. Jaya, please.
Thank you very much for the question. So I've been hearing what all my worthy panelists have been saying, brilliant ideas being shared. Well, I am reminded of a Chinese saying, I would say, where it is said that the wise adapt and change and mold themselves just like water molds itself in the pitcher it is kept, right? So for me, agility is that, how we as leaders mold ourselves, adapt ourselves, and make quick decisions to meet the challenges. Challenges are thrown at every person, at whatever their age, whatever their designation. If we are there for human beings, challenge is part and parcel of our lives. So what should we do with challenge? If we just think about challenge and don't change ourselves to meet up the challenge where it is and to find solutions, we will become stagnant and we'll get stuck. As school leaders, it is very important that we are agile, we adapt, and we look for solutions. And never ever, then I think in these times, agility is something which has been really very, very important. Pandemic and its after effects have taught us all that if we were not agile, I think there would be students left behind, there would be staff left behind, and we would just get stuck in a stagnant world. Education has moved on, education has carried on. There might be some gaps in learning, but those gaps were easily filled by online learning, by remote learning, and that's the most important thing as leaders. Agility, I think, is one of the most important traits, not only for leaders, for our staff, and this is what we have to empower our students with agility, because we are training them for a world, for jobs which have not yet been discovered, perhaps, and it's very important that agility plays a very important role. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can I just ask Ms. Abhilasha to just add on, please?
For me, a simple definition of agility is adapting to the new environment, adopting to the new environment with electricity, because we all know survival of the fittest, and those who adapt well, they are able to survive, and that also leads to their success. In the animal kingdom, it is the longevity. Similar. So, and for me, it is also agility of the, not just the agility of the mind, but also physical fitness, physical agility, where you're quick, you're on your toes all the time. You're not holed up in your office for most part of the day, you know. And also, I hate over-analysis. Personally, I hate over-analysis. So a decision has to be taken there. A lot of good work is lost when we have too many meetings, too much discussion on, you know, what needs to be done. Quick decisions, and that I think that's also a good leadership trait.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Just as both of you ladies were speaking, and you spoke about agility of the mind, you spoke about adaptability, it really just dawned on me the fact that we do need to move away from traditional types of leading. I'm actually a big fan of servant leadership, where we distribute, where the job of the leader is actually to serve, to make sure the needs of every stakeholder is met. And I think part of that agility is owning up and realizing that we are not the smartest people in the room. And when it comes to technology, actually maybe people below us, you know, they know more in particular domains, and they can shed more light on situations, and we need to be ready as leaders to take that back seat, distribute that leadership and say, in this area, in this domain, what is the best thing to move forward? Allan spoke about, and when Allan was speaking, what I could see was education without barriers, without boundaries, and that's what technology does. It allows us to educate ourselves and learn when we're in our bedrooms, in the evening, in the morning, at any time of the day. It's no longer restricted the way the traditional educational system was. Same with our leadership. Our leadership cannot be that traditional method anymore. We do have to look at innovative, new, and creative ways of speaking and teaching and leading. We spoke about not. Oh, you want to add on? You always add on after me. Go ahead.
So sorry. This just popped into my head because these are lessons that I have learned in my days and years as school principal. The understanding and the acceptance that you, as a leader, you are not supposed to know everything. So once you accept that, and then you identify quickly that who are these people who will help you. Like for me, data analysis is my anathema for me. So I know that I need people who will do data analysis for me. You know, so things like these. Accept that you don't know anything, and then identify who are these people who are experts in this field and are going to be part of a support mechanism.
Absolutely. And my next question, and I want you to speak actually, I want us to look at, in our own experience, where have we had to be agile? So you can start there, Dr. Sheela.
Okay, thank you so much, and some excellent points, Abhilasha, from you. So leading an organization has never been easy, and I'm sure everybody present here knows that, you know. Add on to that, you know, you're talking about education sector, and all the more when you're talking about the school scenario, where you are dealing with students right from 3-year-old to the 18-year-olds. So on one side, you're talking about children where you are developing their basic skills and you know, training them for their gross and fine motor skills. And you're talking about the pre-teens and the teens, getting them ready for their next life, the university life ahead. So on a daily basis, actually, you are dealing with n number of situations where there is need for you to be agile. So it may be, you have the younger ones, their needs are different. You have the mental status of students, the preteens and teens, their needs are different. And it's not easy dealing with the young parents of today. The demands are so high. So for a leader in school, again, giving the same personal example, it has never been easy. So when you are dealing with wide range of demands and requirements, there isn't anything like a one-size-fits-all or one-size-fits-all approaches to the solutions or to the teaching and learning that is required in classroom today. And remember, technology has accelerated everything. And we are talking about Generation Alpha, a very fast-paced generation that seeks instant results and instant gratification. And also we, the adults, are training them for a job or for a career that probably doesn't even exist today. So, and when you talk about this generation, it's not so much about knowledge, it's more about the skills. Skills, developing the skills so that even 10 years, 15 years from them, they fit into any job or employability opportunities available for them. So who are the ones who are imparting these skills and values? We adults. So it's so important that when we deal with the so fast-paced generation today, so vibrant, so fast in learning technology, they are far beyond the educators in the classroom. So when you're dealing with them, it's very important that we change our approaches, we change our mindset in the fast manner possible. Otherwise, what will probably happen is if you are not able to deal with the uncertainties, it will obviously lead to disastrous repercussions. Moreover, we are talking about a VUCA world. It's volatile, it's uncertain. So it's very important that we adults around this young generation prepare ourselves to be agile. So pandemic still is a very recent memory, Abigail, in the mind, wherein overnight we changed the entire approach, not just the leaders, all the stakeholders of the school, for the sake of children, to make sure that learning never stops. I think that's one of the best examples we can talk about Agile. And the success stories that schools have to share, how well they managed the pandemic time, I'm sure is all because of Agile leaders and agility in the entire system of education. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You mentioned us leading in a VUCA world. Absolutely. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. These are the challenges of the present-day leader. So my question now goes to Allan. What are the potential challenges and roadblocks that education leaders may encounter as they work to build a more agile and collaborative education system? And more importantly, how can they overcome these obstacles?
Schools are not changing as fast as school people seem to think. I've been in education for 49 years now. The first training course I attended as a teacher was about problem-based learning. And we are still talking about the same thing. Schools are basically very conservative systems. It's a big machinery to change a school. Many of the stakeholders are very conservative also. I have met them in India. They like the beautiful ideas of holistic approaches I come with from Denmark, but when it comes to basics, they are focused on curriculum and syllabus and testing. So on one hand, we have the fast-changing world, and everybody on every conference can agree that we need to change. But based on my experience from 49 years of experience in school, schools are still very much the same. And technology is implemented very much to optimize what's already happening in school, but not actually to develop new competences, new skills. So what I see right now is a school system that survives because that's what parents want, that's what governments want, that's the entry exams to universities. And on the other hand, we have all the needs for change. So what I see now is we have many new private online portals and homeschooling philosophies that will take over if we don't change in education more fast than we have done so far. And why is that a danger? It's a danger because schools are still there mostly to educate for citizenship, to develop social interaction between our students so that they can become active and good citizens. If we only focus on content, on curriculum, on syllabus, and use technology just to enhance the learning of that, we'll become obsolete because there will be more efficient ways of doing it. But schools are necessary because they are a social ecosystem that educates for citizenship. So therefore, it's my deep belief that schools need to change much faster. And we have shown that many things can happen during COVID. But what happened during COVID was not real innovation of education. That was a change of the delivery model from offline to online, but basically the same content, basically the same competences. It was not real change. So I think we need to focus on how technology can help us making real changes towards more innovation, more collaboration, more creation of solutions, more integration with the world outside the school. And technology can do all this, but only if we change the mindset in schools, only if we change the curriculum and the testing system in schools. So those are all the blocks I see. So as leaders in school, we need to do as much as we can to go to the borders and introduce as much as we can of the future competences that are necessary. But there need to be changes all over in the system also. And of course, in India, the new national education policy is an important step in that direction. But the way many states are doing it, it's still the same old school story. So yes, I am a little pessimistic because I've been in the business for so many years, but I can see all the possibilities that are out there, and technology definitely can help us do it. But we need to change in our own mindset as school leaders, and we have a very important role to play.
Jaya, would you like to add on? We're looking at potential challenges and how we can overcome them.
Well, I think the only challenge or obstruction which may come on the way of change and adapting the new practices might be the mindset. Mindset is the most important thing. If we change our mindset, we change our perspective towards the challenges, I think there's nothing which can stop school leaders or leaders at any point of time to bring the change that is much required. Or it can be poor change management, or it can be perhaps a traditional mindset. Not that I don't believe in traditionalism. I'm a very traditional person, but with a broader outlook, because sometimes change is what is required for the growth of the school, for the growth of the organization. As well as we are talking about globalization, we are talking about collaboration, and we're talking about agility. So putting all this together, I would like to give an example from the international school that I'm leading. In present times, we know what Ukraine is going through, right? And this school, the Apple International School, has been working with, collaborating with various schools across some parts of the world. But we have been working with Ukraine maybe from 8 years now. And we have delegates coming from Ukraine visiting our school. We have students coming over, and we, our children get the opportunity to interact with them. But did we stop, now that Ukraine is going through, I would say, a transition, did we stop interacting with them? Not at all. Yeah, the children couldn't visit. The children, the leaders, the school leaders could not visit UAE perhaps, but we are continuously working with them, sharing our best practices with the children even now. So maybe once in 2 months or maybe twice a term, we ensure, like again next week, there is a session in our school where our students interact with children of their age. We take some cultural topic. As simple as the culture of UAE and the culture of Ukraine. So this collaboration is happening only because of the use of technology. So technology, as we were talking about, the good use of technology can add a lot of value to the lives of students all across the world. So I thought of just adding this example because the children of Ukraine at the moment, they really require this vision, the thought, the message of hope. And this is really helping our students. It's not only for them, it's helping our students realize the reality of life. And that is what I think is the best learning happening at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So just to conclude, Allan spoke about change starting with us as leaders. He said we need to move away from surface level change to deep change. Jaya spoke about mindset, the mindset of the leader. I just want to add on there knowledge. In order to get that deep change that Allan spoke of, with the change in mindset that the leader needs, it's through acquiring more knowledge. And you want to say something?
I just want to add on. Along with all these points that is mentioned, I think we all understand that education is also a highly competitive sector. We talk about collaboration, but the reality is that we are still reluctant to share best practices. Unless and until we actually move away from that particular scenario and stop working in isolation and start collaborating more, for keeping in mind that we all, when you're talking about the education sector, remember it's for the children, for the students. So if we all come together and have a very open mindset, accepting changes and work towards the benefit of children, I think it's extremely important to collaborate. In reality, sharing of best practices is still seen as an area of reluctance. So that's one area that we need to work on. And like so well, Mr. Allan said, unless and until we really re-look at the way we approach our curriculum, our assessment patterns, which is still so very outdated, that's one area I think we really need to work towards and look at that. We are talking about the young generation. There's so much of thinking gap. There is so much of the learning gap. When I say learning, the fastness, the speed at which these youngsters learn. So unless and until we are ready to change in a substantial manner, I think it will be a very painful experience for the younger generation. I think these are the ones that can actually act as a barrier, Thank you, Abigail.
I was just going to give my closing quote by Alvin Toffler. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but it will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn as we move into the future. Thank you so much. I believe there may be a question at the front.
Abigail, would you allow me to share just one? Can I ask a takeaway from?
Good afternoon. I'm Michael from Stepping Stones High School, Maharashtra, India. You've been asking all the questions, so I want to ask you a question. I've been hearing very attentively. I loved what Allan shared. Made a lot of sense, what he said. But there's something that I want to ask you. We are all principals, and I think our great role is, as educators, is to educate everyone. But all of us don't have the same privileged class of children in our schools or in our classrooms. So I was asked this question, I answered it, but I just want to hear your thoughts. There's a great digital divide. 2/3 of school-going children don't even have access to internet, leave gadgets. What are your thoughts about this great digital device? And all of us who are principals here have children in our school whom we have to educate. So how does this discussion on digitalization go forward from here? Number two, I happened to be in UK 10 days ago, and I got an opportunity to sit in the House of Commons, and to my luck, there was a debate going on and a bill being passed on education. And the bill was on skill education. So keeping this in mind, the digital divide, if Allan could also put in his views, should equal importance be given and enough discussions be done on the importance of skill education for 2/3 of these children who are lost in the digital world. A part of this question is also, as much as you talk about digitalization, we are fighting a huge parent community who want the children off gadgets. So where does this discussion go from here? If you could share your thoughts, please.
Okay, so you had a number of points there.
3 points.
Yeah, a number. So on your first one, I think schools can do their best in their budgeting to make sure that they too budget for devices that can be loaned out. I think it has to be implemented into their policies and systems. When we first moved digitally, and there were a number of issues with children having devices, it was up to us to have almost a plan B for those children where they could loan those devices. In homes also, maybe there was one device amongst 3 children. Again, our systems and procedures ensuring that it's planned well, so children in year 2, year 3, year 4, for example, were accessing lessons at different times, making sure there was an asynchronous component, so not everything could be done live. So if a particular year group was live, for example, ensuring there was an asynchronous component that children could be accessing offline. So I do think it's down to our policies, our procedures, our systems that are in place to support them. I think also the government has a role to play, setting up these public places like libraries where children can go and access the internet, access devices free of charge. So I think it's a bigger problem than any one of us can solve. We do our best in the school with the resources we have, looking at our priorities and prioritizing the budgets to include our devices. But I think also there's a governmental component. And I think as leaders, what we can do is to knock on the door of the government and say, look, these are the needs. No, it's true, where we can. We can't say they're not listening, so we're not going to do. The world belongs to those that dare. So we have to keep on knocking. We have to stand for those children that don't have access. It's just the world we live in, but we just have to keep on trying. When you spoke about skills being online for too long and the issues with parents not wanting their children to be online, again, another issue that we face. But it's a case of educating the parents, saying that we also are parents and we stand with you. Now, we don't want our children playing Roblox. That's not why their devices are in school. We don't want them gaming, but we do want them harnessing that power. So again, having structured time, teaching the children that they too have to have offline moments. I think we all just need to educate ourselves on how we move forward with a power that is here to stay. It's the same with well-being. How do we live healthy and fulfilled lives? What are those practices? Goal setting, rest, healthy eating. It's all education, and I think technology comes into that. If we want to live a well life, if we want to have well-being central to our existence, we have to educate ourselves. What does wellness look like in a world where technology is advancing so fast? I'll ask Allan to just add on.
We, as Abigail rightly said, we can only do what we can do in each separate school to make it as democratic as possible. But I will also add that in India there are 750 million smartphones. So India is actually on its way towards digitalization, but I agree that we cannot solve this digital divide problem without government intervention. I come from a country where education is free and where it's possible for municipalities to give laptops to the children so that they can use technology in school. I know we are not anywhere near that in India now, but I think if we all agree, and the government also agrees, that digital tools are crucial for the innovation, the innovation in education that we need, many of the investments in education should be towards democratic digitalization of Indian education system. And it can be done in many ways, but that's the only thing I can say right now, because I mean, we know the digital divide is there, but if we believe that digitalization is important, then we have to use it where we are. About screen time, I think I heard a story, I don't know if it's just an anecdote, that in a school in northern India, they wanted to talk about screen time, and the parents thought, okay, that's something they need to discuss with the children. But actually, no, they invited the parents, because it's the parents' screen time that create the problem. We can easily control what we are doing in school. And we use iPads, so we can just see how much screen time they have had during a week. What we can't control is what's happening at home. And they're very bad habits. So that's exactly why we need digitalization in schools, because that's the only place where we can teach the children to have good digital habits, to know that they need a variation of activities with offline and online activities separated, and where multitasking is not allowed, because multitasking doesn't exist, but you get to think that because of the fastness of the digital technology. So that needs to be in schools also, teaching of ethics and digital habits, because if it doesn't happen in school, it never happens.
Good afternoon. I'm Madhuri Sawant, MD and founder of BrainQuartz. I have a question. I am on multiple panels of the interview. What I have realized that there's a huge knowledge gap which has been created in these 2 years, which has not been closed. When we talk about online learning, it has really not taken that much of the impact. Children could not learn, and that is the biggest problem. And now the notion is that, oh, they are COVID batch, we don't want to take them. This is happening, and we really do not have the solution. So you as the educators, as the principals, management, do you have any measures? Those who have passed out, we can't do much about it. But those who are in the school, we have to take something to bridge that gap, and the gap is there. For simple example, if the child is from 6th, now he has gone to 8th, or 8th who has gone to 10th, they have missed out lot of things which actually they need to know the basic concepts, especially abstract concepts in science and mathematics, and they have lost those things. So I'm into education now for last few years, and I have realized, I have talked to so many parents and so many things, they say our children do not understand this. So what measures the schools are taking to bridge this gap? And this is really a serious problem. If they go in the engineering or medicine, they will definitely face this problem. So do you have any solution for that, ma'am? This is my question. Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
Okay, you can add on. I'll just I do agree, that the knowledge gap that you're talking about across the world, though we speak about having tried our best during the pandemic time, we wanted to make sure that students are engaged effectively to the best possible way. We all understand that the moment they came back, we actually see a huge knowledge gap. So one is certainly we need to re-look at the way we design our curriculum. First and foremost thing, I personally feel as educators, we need to strongly look at the way we design a vertical curriculum, the vertical progression, re-look at the curriculum, and design or change the curriculum as per what is needed actually for the world today. And that is still very, very obsolete, and I'm sure you'll all agree with me. What is needed is more of a skill-based. Of course, the NEP is addressing that, but the most important part is how it gets implemented. We have a lot of good practices on paper, but when it comes to implementation, that is where we fail. So coming back to your point, this gap is no doubt there, but frankly speaking, if you ask me, over a period of time, the gap will get bridged. The pandemic is still too fresh, or the gap is still too fresh. But I think personally what I feel is to deal with the emotional gap that has come up in children. Academic gaps, I feel children are very smart, it will get filled. But look at the mental stress and the mental health of our children. I mean, that's something we as educators need to address. There was a time when we used to speak about mental health in our children, maybe when they were teenagers, maybe 17, 18, 19-year-olds. Now we are talking about a 6-year-old, 7-year-old having mental health issues. I think we as educators should now actually focus on bringing back the mental health in our children. I think that is a gap that we need to address first. What is the use of when you're mentally not fit, you're talking about bridging the knowledge gap?
Thank you so much, ma'am. And very rightly said about looking at revisiting the curriculum, and also guiding the teachers not to rush for syllabus completion. That is where this divide becomes bigger and bigger. Chasm keeps getting wider and wider. And what needs to be done is, like ma'am said, about skill building. So concept clarity rather than just rushing over the syllabus. We tried to do, this was gap analysis thing was quite in vogue at that time. So when the children came back and we all did whatever I knew and what I could gather from my collaborations, we tried to do gap analysis. But ultimately what happens is that in the class, the teacher support, differentiation, knowing the children, those who are not performing well. We know that the children have done online assessments and have scored very well, and the parents are coming back. I just had the open house yesterday and the parent was angry, 2-3 parents. They were getting such good marks earlier. How is my child performed so low in science? So we had to give a little info to the parents as well, like look what the scene was and what it is now, and this is the reality. So definitely relook at the curriculum, see and support the teachers, not to rush over syllabus completion is not an issue. The focus is that the children should understand what you are teaching. I have got my grade 12 presently accounts with the 2 students who have given us the hibbies and the jibbies throughout the time we've been preparing them for the board exam. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that they should pass, because this is a batch, again, COVID batch, we did not appear for the board exam. So all of us are in the same boat and all of us are in this together. We all just need to support our teachers and see that, like ma'am said, again about social emotional learning. And as an example, we started this practice of gratitude in our school. My friend is here, colleague and friend, Ms. Afreen is here, who was part of the team at that time. So because our children, we realized that the students were losing out on the sense of belonging to the school. So we have now incorporated service learning as part of the curriculum, where the children have to, in 3 terms, the children have to engage in service learning and of course evidence, and they get gratitude ambassador badges, and that's how the work is progressing. So just an example to share. Thank you for the question.